I always ask this. This is my favorite thing to do. So you're at a party, okay, and maybe you've had a couple beverages, but somebody has been asked somebody has asked you for your favorite Rick Pitino story as working for him. What's your safe for work Rick
Yeah, well,
Pitino story?
and that's the key. That's the key. Is it like two beverages in a sealed off vault that nothing will ever escape, or is it
It's you're at a fake party and you're on a public podcast.
Yeah. Okay. That one. I was actually telling our managers this story the other day. We played, and hang on, I have my laptop right here because I want to get this. I want to get the date correct. We played WKU in Nashville, like right before Christmas, I think. December 22nd, we played WKU in Nashville, beat them 78-55. We smoked them pretty good. But that team was, that championship team, man.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I'm going to tell you, like, kudos to WKU for getting 55.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously, you look at Miami, Ohio scored 39 against us that year. Charleston, who was good. We played at CFC. They scored 38 points on their home court. Oh. I mean, that team. Okay, and you talk about like regenerative leadership. Take the basketball out of it. Forget about the fact he was the best defensive player in the country and a two-time Big East tournament MVP. Peyton Siva, Hancock, like unbelievable. Gorgie, unbelievable leaders. Unbelievable leaders. Because playing for Coach P is not easy, and it's not for everybody. It's not. And young guys, like Coach B would be hard on the young guys. Like freshmen didn't play hard enough. They didn't play defense. Like if you didn't do those two things, he didn't have time for you. So we play. It was like maybe it was like a 7:00 Eastern game, like 7:00 Central, 8:00 Eastern. I remember it was like kind of a late tip, and we go down there, and Coach and freaked out. WKU is the best team in the history of basketball. We had no chance against these guys, yada, yada, yada. So that scout was exhausting, right? And so this is on the 22nd. We played Kentucky a full week later. Well, if I'm finishing the WKU scout, usually like maybe 2 days out, I would be totally done with WKU. And I would start on UK like the day before that game. But I mean, starting on it, maybe I could watch 3 games in a day. Do a lot of the stat work and then maybe get 3 games in. He comes to me before the WKU game and he said something about like, hey, do you have the UK scout done? I mean, a typical scout was like 25, maybe 30 hours of like desk work. And I was like, yeah, oh yeah, I got it. Yeah, Coach. Yeah. So we play the game, we win. The team is taking a bus back to Louisville, right? 2.5, 3 hour ride, whatever it is. We're taking a bus. One of our donors had gone down and flew. I don't know, maybe Coach P went to dinner after the game or something, but he flew back. He lands before the bus gets back. And he texts me and he said, hey, I'll meet you in the office. So like if that game was 8:00 Eastern, 10, 11, it's probably like 1:30, 2 in the morning. And he said, hey, I'll meet you in the office. Let's go ahead and go over the UK scout.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God. It was like 2 a.m. I hadn't slept in a couple of days. I was like, yeah, absolutely, Coach. We'll go knock it out. So I have like, I don't want to like go way down to inside baseball here, but I could, based on the games I had watched, the way the software worked at the time, I could put together like a pretty quick offense edit. It wasn't going to be clean. It wasn't going to be polished. So immediately, like I have that. And if you remember that team, that was the UK team with like Cauley Stein, Nerlens Noel. They ended up not being any good. But, Nerlens Noel was like the number 1 player in the country. And Cauley Stein, I mean, they were elite shot blockers.
Oh, yeah.
So like real quick, I put together this like half-assed offense edit in an edit of all their blocked shots that led to runouts. And I said, Coach, these are the keys to the game. We got to handle this middle ball screen where they have the pair here and a single here, and can't get your shot blocked. So we watched like, I don't know, a half. Maybe we watched a game. We watched a little bit of an edit. It's probably like 4 a.m. now. And we had a couch in the coach's locker room. And I'm sitting there and I was like, maybe he's going to lay down on the couch in his office, go to sleep. I'm going to go downstairs, get some rest, wake up, drink some caffeine, and finish this tomorrow. He walks down to his office. The conference room is right next to his office. And he walks across the hall, goes to his office. I walk down the hall to my office. And I'm kind of messing around, finishing some stuff, about to close my laptop. This is like 4 a.m. He has workout gear on and headphones in, and he walks past my office to go to the cardio. And I'm like, God damn, man. And Coach P, I don't know, he's probably 61, 62 at the time, 60, something like that. And so it's 4 a.m. I was like, man, he's 60. I'm like 26 maybe at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, I'm not going to get outdone. So I go downstairs, go to my locker, put on workout shorts. He gets on the elliptical. I get on the treadmill. I bang out the miles next to him. I had to show that I was tough. I have never been more tired than I mean, you have like 2 hours trying to finish the scout the next day. But the one thing I'll say, and this is where the story's going. The expectations Coach P had on everybody in the building. Fred Hina, the trainer, 3 assistant coaches, ops guy, video guy, Stephanie, our administrative assistant, Jordan, his personal assistant, Fred Hina, Vinny, not to mention the 10 managers, the 15 players. The expectations on everybody were here. Mm-hmm. We're here. And at the time, like 25, 26-year-old, had a lot thrown on me. It was overwhelming. And like I was talking to some of our older guys about this the other day. It's like, it was not pleasant all the time. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, like I don't think Coach P was concerned about being pleasant all the time. Like he was concerned about winning because he put so much pressure on himself. I've always, in like, you're a media guy, I've always said this to people in basketball. I probably haven't expressed this to people in the media. People, always gave Coach P hell for, I mean, Savannah State's the best team we've ever seen. They do this, they yada, yada, yada. I'm telling you, he believed it because he convinced himself that if we don't do A, B, and C, in the worst games weren't when we played Duke. Mm-hmm. The worst games were when we played, to be honest, the worst one was when we played Manhattan that year because they were supposed to be good and he wasn't going to let Steve come in and But you look at like it was that year. I'm looking at, we played Illinois State, won by 3. They ended up being like the best team in the Valley. They were really good. Beat Charleston by 42. Beat UMKC by 50. But those games, oh my God, because he had to convince himself so that he could convince the team that if we don't do A, B, and C, he was so good at that. That like we would watch one half or we'd watch one game together and he'd say, Doug, if we don't do A, B, and C, and even a team that wasn't very good, he'd say they do A and B really well. And that's all we harped on. The guys, if we don't have great hands on the ball, if we don't close out to number 24 and make him deck the ball, and if we don't dominate the defensive glass, like this team can beat you. And then we come in at halftime and they have 1 offensive rebound, 24 hadn't gotten a 3 off, and we had 26 deflections. And be like, well, we did what we were taught, right? And they're so good at that, like the best. The absolute best at emphasizing a handful of things. And it was always defense and effort, right? Like he hated turnovers. Sure. He could live with missed shots. He hated turnovers and he loved deflection. And like, man, let one of our bigs not try to block a shot or not go offensive rebound, and there would be hell to pay the next day. Like people talk about the treadmill and stuff, like the treadmill in practice. Man, go Mattheang. Shot goes up, hang out at the 3-point line, bud. See how that goes for you. Like shot goes up, you better go run to the opposite side. Well, there was this great chart, and I actually looked it up like last week, and the website's like dead. Grantland did it 10 years ago, and they took the sport view data of where all like 100,000 shots in the NBA, and where a shot that went up from this corner by it was a heat map, right? Like where rebounds went, and man, we lived by that thing. Like, shot went up from the right wing. The bigs were supposed to get to this spot, and if they didn't go, like Montrezl Harrell was who Montrezl Harrell was in college because Coach P wouldn't let him be anything else. Like you were going to offensive rebound or you weren't going to play. It was that simple. You were going to block shots or you weren't going to play. And there was no negotiation. There was no coddling. Like Shot goes up, you run your ass to the opposite side, and you get 2 hands on the ball. And if they got an over the back or a push off foul, he didn't say a word. He'd be like,
That's crazy.
Like, so
wow.
He wasn't worried, but like effort was never negotiable. I was so lucky to learn so much under like Coach Mack. Everything was so organized, so structured. The program, everybody knew what we were about. And then Coach P, it was different, but man, did we have an identity, right? We had an identity, and everybody knew exactly. And I mean, it was a masterclass in coaching.
Yeah.